Good afternoon to all of you. Uh, Let me first thank the organizers for this opportunity that they have provided to us as educators to come and share our experience with you. I am Sachin Rajagopalan. I am currently working as a faculty in the Department of Life Science and Biochemistry at Xavier's College. But the majority of the experiences that I'm going to share is from my previous institution where I worked for past 8.5 years in the Department of Microbiology at Ramnarayan Ruya Autonomous College, Mumbai. So let us first begin by understanding something similar that we heard in the earlier talk as well as to who pursues the course in biology. So to begin with, these are some of the courses or programs that are offered as BSc in biology. And these are all different areas. Some of those are very commonly seen names, but with changing times, we have more and more programs, niche programs coming up as BSc in those areas in biology. So I will come to this as to why I have put up this slide first. So I'll come to that as we go ahead in the talk. Let us first understand who pursues biology. So, of course, we would think that it is someone who wishes to pursue research as a career, or probably is looking at an industry-oriented job in R&D sector again, or maybe involved in science communication, or wants to take up allied professions like getting into intellectual property rights, or being an entrepreneur himself in the area of biology, or even doing MBA in biology-related sectors like hospital management or pharmaceutical. This is what we would think, but the ground reality is that 70% of our biology BSc students are those who are medicine and pharmacy aspirers. This is a fact. So around 30% of the students surely come with an aim that they want to pursue a BSc course, but 70% of our students are actually the ones who could not get into medicine or pharmacy, and they take up a BSc course. Moving ahead, how do they select this program? First and foremost, we would think that they have an interest in the subject, which is very true. Several of our students say that they visited an exhibition or they probably got interested in the course because of a teacher who introduced a very interesting concept to them in biology, or they saw a video online which instigated their interest in the subject. So interest in the subject, of course, yes. Latest proceedings. So I think with pandemic, this has become even more common that students say, you know what, I learned about that disease and I want to really do some research in that area. So latest proceedings is again something that invokes interest. Real life experiences. A lot of them, especially biology students who have some medical history in the family, do think that, taking up biology as a career is a better option because they would want to look after for solutions to those problems. And of course, career goal-related decision, wherein they know that they want to do something in biology ahead and they take BSc program as their first step. But this is again for those 20 to 30% students. For majority of them, BSc is a last-minute option. It is a stopgap option, wherein they think that let me repeat NEET once again, let me repeat CET again, and they come into our BSc program looking at BSc as a stopgap transition option. It's a backup, plan B. These are all terminologies that are used normally by students. And what are the consequences? We can't blame them. There is lack of commitment because they are busy preparing for their entrances all over again. There is loss of interest, and there is a lot of stress because BSc is equally a demanding program. So what am I trying to tell over here? The challenges begin at this point for a biology educator. Because in the classroom of 100 students, 70 are such who really don't know why they took this subject up. So creating an interest in them at that point becomes the first challenge for a biology educator. So it starts there. Instigating that curiosity in them that this course can also help you fulfill your dreams. That is the challenge that begins for us in our first year BSc classrooms. I'm going to touch upon some of the core challenges. We'll try to avoid those points which are already discussed. When it comes to curriculum, I feel that it was discussed very much in detail that designing a curriculum is a very big challenge. And I feel that it is in both ways. Number one, that it is rigid. Number two, being overambitious. We want to teach everything. And that is not possible. That's not feasible. Rather, the focus has to be on strengthening the fundamentals. If the fundamentals are in place, they will be able to take up any other applied concept and try to understand it on their own. So that is one of the biggest issues. Resource availability is another problem over here, because biology, or rather any science for that matter, is very dynamic. Things are constantly changing. Most of the references in such a scenario turn out to be research papers, review articles, which surely should be incorporated, but to a certain extent, because if all references become research papers, the students in no time lose their interest. So it becomes very difficult to generate resources in order to keep adept to the contemporary proceedings in the subject. So that's a challenge as to how these resources can actually be generated for education. Second, which is very commonly discussed, is the infrastructure, especially when it comes to biology, because we think that biology labs need to have a lot of equipment, very fancy consumables, very expensive consumables for that matter. And especially when it comes to the domain of molecular biology, we know that it is advancing very fast, and we think that it is practically impossible to do those experiments in the lab. Hands-on exposure, skill development is a very important component. But unfortunately, because of lack of infrastructure, the second thing that is normally quoted is lack of expertise or lack of resources. Very important, funding. So I come from a college. I do not come from a research institute. There are very few funding opportunities that are available. Yes, there are grants. Colleges apply for those grants. They do get those grants. But let me tell you that these grants come with a lot of clauses in them. There is no provision for AMC as well. So once the equipment is bought, maintaining that equipment also becomes a very tedious task. Though I understand that we need to take up more consultancy projects, we need to find out ways to generate revenue out of it. But this is one of the core issues with the grants that are actually available for academic institutions. So of course, a lot of burden as per the accreditation body comes on the institution, because the institution is expected to give seed money grants for research. Now that is a big financial burden on academic institutions. Surely, several academic institutions are tapping into alumni to look into more seed money grants so that they can give in some money for the process. But this may be possible for institutions which are quite old, well-established, prestigious, have been there for years together. But there are institutions which are comparatively new, may not have well-established alumni. In such scenarios, this is a big problem. Industry-academia linkage is, the shortage of that is now being sensed in NEP, when we have to place close to 600 students for OJTs and internships. So of course, again, alumni is a very important component over here which can be tapped, so that more and more industry-academia collaborations can also be done. This is a well-known problem, faculty. So here first and foremost is recruitment process. Recruitments are not happening since a very long period of time. There are departments in Mumbai University colleges itself wherein the department is being run with one full-time faculty and 12 CHBs. So in such a scenario, giving genuine or doing justice to the course becomes comparatively very, very difficult. There is lack of training, no doubt, because there is lack of expertise. Training needs to be done of faculty members. And especially in higher education, we realize that there is no training of teachers before they actually take up the jobs, like be it for school education or for junior college education. There's nothing of that sort in senior college. So when a fresher who has just completed post-graduation enters into a classroom, it's a different ball game wherein the role gets reversed. And if there is some prior training of pedagogy and assessment, it would surely help the person to deliver the discourse better. There is an overload with other responsibilities. I am not talking specifically of administrative responsibilities. I'm not going there. But the slide that I had shown you, wherein I said that a lot of students come with a prior baggage of not being able to get into courses that they actually desired. This involves hours together of mentoring the students. So along with the regular academic activities, mentoring also takes a significant amount of time of the teachers. So there are several other such responsibilities that I'm not even touching upon. Most of the teachers here know that paperwork and documentation takes up most of the time. This is one of the issues that threatens every single teacher, which is enrollment numbers. Where every undergraduate college used to get thousands and thousands of applications for 600 seats, today finds it difficult to even reach 50% of the enrollment. Okay? And when I say 50% of enrollment in BSc course, this includes all courses of science like chemistry, physics, mathematics, statistics, all biological sciences. So when that number drops down to directly half, close to 250 or 300 students, the division of numbers also becomes difficult. Now, this is about cities like Mumbai. But there are several educational institutions where teachers actually go into houses and get the students enrolled into the course. So that's even more tougher a task. Of course, there are several reasons for this. I don't say that the students are at fault. Even we are at fault. I have written there lack of awareness versus awareness. So lack of awareness is basically about what Sir mentioned today in his talk, that there are so many job opportunities that even as educators we are not aware of, because of which we are not able to pass it on to the students. But similarly, there is an awareness that this path of career involves BSc, MSc, PhD, postdoc, and a struggle to get a job. So then the thing is that what is a better opportunity where I can get employed faster? So as it was raised in the discussion, how to convince the parents, because the first question that the parents ask during admission is, what's the pay package? What is my child going to get immediately after the BSc degree? And the answer is that I don't think that there will be an immediate job post BSc, right? So that is a big issue. With biological sciences, I have another opinion, that is fragmentation of biology into several courses, which I think is high time that we started a school of biology rather than having multiple biological science departments, because this is also affecting the fundamentals that our students learn. So to give an example, when I talk about a BSc microbiology graduate, the course framework from the non-autonomous time as well did not include any ecology studies. So our students do not study ecology evolution at all. While if you talk about something like botany, there are several institutions where molecular biology does not come into the syllabus to a great extent. So this fragmentation is affecting the understanding of our students also to a great extent. So I feel that there is a need now to get these biological science departments together. And somewhere it is funny, you can comment about this, that in India, we have BSc in specialized areas, MSc in biology. So whenever they go to TFR or they go to ICER, they go to any research institutions, they are doing MSc in biology, but the student has done a BSc in microbiology or a BSc in botany or a BSc in zoology. So I think specialization can come a little later and let them learn the fundamentals first, is what my personal opinion is. You can, of course, disagree to that, but that's my personal opinion. Employment opportunities. This is something that I think is also a part of our discussion panel, where we need to discuss about this as to how we can generate more employment opportunities or make people aware about the opportunities that are already available. So that is something that is very crucial. Now, whenever I interact with teachers across through teacher training programs, thanks to Asim sir and Manwa ma'am and Nirja ma'am, who give me this opportunity of interacting with several teachers, I realized that one of the core issues that everyone says, which was even brought up in the discussion, is retaining interest in the class. And it is said that, oh, it's era of Instagram reels, we need to have a 60 seconds reel for them to gain interest into it, or they have shorter attention span, how to engage the students with such limited resources, we have to cater to each and every student in the classroom. All this feels overwhelming. But let me tell you, I'm going to share a few of my experiences, which I implemented after undergoing few training programs as a teacher, because I also had a similar opinion years ago. So this is my 10th year, probably 10th year in higher education. Probably 4 years ago, I was having similar opinion. But then I started implementing few things in the class. So I'm going to share that. Few of these things are also from my colleagues who have implemented things in the classroom, and I want to share that with you all. So first and foremost is tingling the imagination kida in the students. Okay, so if you are teaching biochemistry, let me tell you, that is one of the biggest threats in biology. That a student who comes in biology says, "Arey, I left chemistry and mathematics and physics because I'm afraid of structures and numbers. You are teaching me structures and numbers." So they come with this understanding that biology means, oh, I don't have to study chemical structures, I don't have to do any calculations, please keep me away from that. This is the fact, okay? So it is very important that when they are afraid of such subjects, we need to find ways to make them more comfortable with that particular subject. So here is where imagination works a big way, wherein if you tell them to imagine that they themselves are a glucose molecule, okay, and they are moving through the bloodstream of an individual, how is that going to enter the cell before you actually talk about glycolysis? And make them imagine moving through bloodstream, passing different organs. It at least relaxes them before the structures come in front of them. Okay, so this is something that I find interesting to start the class with. Now comes the structures, because I got an opportunity to teach biochemistry for a long period of time. And they used to come with a lot of fear of these structures and terminologies as well. So talking about enantiomers, they used to be like, why are you wanting us to know about enantiomers in biology class? What is the purpose of this? So setting up a context with an application or with a story becomes very important. Like talking about a biologist actually ended up discovering it, Louis Pasteur. Okay, and that too on a bottle of wine where he found tartaric acid crystals. That mesmerizes them. Oh, a biologist did it. A self-confidence that they can also do it. Okay, post which, setting up context using stories like thalidomide, because that gives them the biological significance that what isomers can actually do to an individual if they are not administered correctly. Or talking about activities like telling them about chirality, so making them do activities of superimposing their hands or taking images, selfie images, and superimposing the stuff to make them understand superimposable, non-superimposable. Normally, we do that by putting two structures and telling them, see, OH is here, in that OH is there. So that makes it pretty much boring for them. But if these kind of activities are first put in, it eases out the process of understanding, and they don't feel it complex anymore. Again, thanks to Neeraja for this. Sorry, I referred to as ma'am, and you gave me a look, so thanks Neeraja for this. That she suggested that why not make them experience how enantiomers are. So these are two oils, spearmint oil and caraway seed oil, very easily available on Amazon. Both have one has L form of caravan, another has R form of caravan, and it differs in smell with just one positional change. So making them actually experience that, see what difference does it make when just one component is getting shifted. It makes a huge difference because they start connecting to the functionality of the concepts. Experiential learning. This is something very important when it comes to microscopy. And in microscopy, if we start with lenses and put ray diagrams on the board, gone. So if I tell them, okay, let us see if incident light and reflected light, is it visible to you? Because incident light and reflected light is always shown as a diagram. But you can actually use just a duster with full of chalk powder, use a laser light and show them incident light. Here it's not visible in the video to see the reflected light because it's very slim and less intense, but the students can actually visualize that. Even when you talk about complementary colors or you're talking about colorimetry as a concept, making them understand that when I use a specific wavelength of light on a specific color, to what extent does that beam pass? Does it pass through completely? Or is it getting absorbed? Does the intensity differ? By just keeping a paper on the other side. So that also makes a difference because they see the instrument, but they can't visualize what's happening inside the instrument. So this surely does make a difference. And there are also lenses available with laser lights that you can play with to teach them the concepts like myopia or even teaching them microscopy. So people spoke about designing an experiment. I have tried this out, and I've tried this with the non-NEP batches because I totally understand NEP batches, 2 hours practicals. Very, very difficult. I am myself trying to understand how to implement these things in 2 hours. But in the non-NEP batch, what we used to do was the first 2 weeks of practical sessions used to be lab common sense workshops, where right from basics of laboratory to designing an experiment, how to design an experiment. Give them the freedom of designing an experiment. So for example, again, MSD Dicer introduced me to coin experiment. So I started with the coin experiment first and then took it to my subject. So I used to tell them that this is a 5 rupee coin. Tell me how much solution can this 5 rupee coin hold on it? What is the volume? So now they have the freedom to design what they want to use, water, oil, or any other solution. Viscosity-wise, the things will change. So they are able to design their own experiment depending on the variables and what kind of precautions they need to take for avoiding errors, discussing the concept of repeatability and reproducibility. All that can be done in this one experiment, which is simple. You don't need high-end infrastructure, and you can still do the experiment by making them realize what are the things that they need to keep in mind when they're designing an experiment. So same thing was done with designing a microbial medium for growth. So they got different foodstuffs from their home and designed a media. And that designing did not involve any foodstuff. They had to decide that if this organism needs carbohydrate, if it needs protein, if it needs vitamin, if it needs mineral, what needs to be the food ingredient that is used. So I'll just quickly go through this because time is less. So this is conceptualized by Dr. Ravindra Phadke, former HOD of Department of Microbiology, Ruya College, where he used to club the experiments of that term into one module. So if it is a food spoilage related experiment, you start from isolation to characterizing that for what kind of preservatives can be used, what kind of natural preservatives can be used. In that, teach them MIC, teach them susceptibility tests. So as one module, teach them all the techniques. So I think that made a huge difference on me. I always thought that if I was his student, probably I wouldn't have been a teacher because I would have understood this process of thinking differently and would have looked at other career options also. So I got to learn there as an educator. Similarly, doing project, identifying microorganisms from a different niche, using Burgess manual. So I used to always say, let sequencing happen, but the fundamental of biochemical tests is something that our students need to know. If they know the fundamental, any advanced tests they can surely relate to. Similarly, you have simulations. I would request all of you to check NetLogo if you have not, for chemistry, physics, as well as biology. There are a lot of simulations which you can check for epidemiology experiments, where you can change the parameters and you can see what effect does it bring on the particular study. Similarly, evolution of microorganisms leading to antimicrobial resistance. You can actually change the parameter, make the patient skip a dosage. It's all simulated. So what will happen, right? I will, this is the last slide. Credit goes to Mayuri Rege. She was DST Inspire Faculty Fellow at Ruya College. So this was a project which was done by UG students. And they represented the country there in Boston, where they genetically engineered a microorganism to degrade pan stains. So this is a good experience for the students to get a flavor of how research works. Similarly, there are several outreach programs through which students communicated science. So that is in the form of conducting street plays, exhibitions on antimicrobial resistance, making videos in regional languages, Hindi, Marathi, as well as English for probiotics. So students do get involved in these things and they learn a lot in the process of doing outreach. So I should mention gratitude to all these people for a reason, that they gave me the freedom to experiment. That is very, very important. In several of my, several instances I have heard this, that their seniors don't allow them to experiment. They say that this is going to take time, don't do this. But I've been very, very lucky that in both of my institutions, I have got the opportunity to explore. So this is my current institution. So I thank all of them. And my former institution, where they have been very, very supportive. You will meet Professor Anushri Lokur today in the panel discussion. She's also my PhD supervisor. So she has been very, very supportive in this process. And of course, the 3 teachers who taught me the effective way to teach. 2 of them are here. So thank you so much for that. And finally, my entire family of Life Science Department at Xavier's and the entire family of microbiology at Ruya College. So